Okay, we're going to talk about factoring, which we first have learned in our showing writing exercises. And we're factoring until we get the part of speech to a prime form. Okay, we're going to talk about factoring two different types of words and situations. The first is L1 in our showing exercises. We're looking for that concrete diction. So we can factor nouns, verbs, and adjectives. Okay? So let's take a look. We can take a noun and perhaps we take something really broad. Things or objects. So we're going to factor that. And that becomes maybe clothing. We'll factor that. Then footwear. We'll factor that. Athletic shoes. It's factored. Maybe track shoes gets factored until we get to Adidas spikes. And now we have a prime form of that. Let's try the adjective. We might start with something like vivid. We're modifying another noun, a vivid something. So we're going to factor that, and maybe we get to colorful. We're going to factor that. And maybe we get to a specific color to red. And then we start factoring that. Perhaps we get to blood red, a possibility. Maybe a scarlet red. Or maybe a watermelon. So we've come up with three perhaps prime forms of vivid. And then how about a verb? Right? We might start with the verb go. Well, let's factor that. We might move into walk. Then we might factor that into stumble. Pretty good. Another version, I think, of a prime form might be trip, skip. Okay, so we've begun to get to perhaps a prime form of go. Now, we're also going to use factoring when we're dealing with some associative words in expository argument. So we may be writing, for instance, about the leader or leadership. This is our general topic, but this has to be factored as well. We need to say something more precise. So we're factoring leadership. Perhaps it gets factored into a variety of different forms. For instance, the leader shows a pathway. Maybe that gets factored a little bit to the leader visualizes an ideal outcome. Perhaps another trait that's general is that the leader has control. We'll factor that he tempers emotion, or that he uses reason to temper emotion. So we're getting a little bit toward the prime there. Maybe the leader understands the moment. This then could be factored too. Perhaps he understands the complexity of time, the past, present, and future. So again, even with L2, we're beginning to factor and move toward a closer prime form. There you go.